Striker Scorpion 82 is now sponsored by Warhammer Combat Cards, a card battle game featuring your favourite Citadel miniatures from the 40k universe. Build your army decks, dominate opponents in player versus player action, collect and upgrade cards to fit your strategy, improve their power and unlock unique traits. Choose from all 40k factions, take part in campaigns based on iconic 40k battles, rise to the top of the leaderboard and win glory. Free to download and play, link is in the video description below or on the channel homepage, and by using the unique link it helps support the channel. Thanks and enjoy the game. Right, welcome to another top 5 unit video. In this episode we'll be covering the Thousand Sons Chaos Space Marines, and obviously that's going to be based on the brand new codex available for them as well. So if you're putting together a Thousand Sons army, or you're adjusting over from the old codex to the new, in this video I'm going to focus on my top 5 here that I would recommend that you put into your army if you can. I started collecting these a number of years ago. It was a secret project over on the Plus channel. Gradually built the army up on there. Number of painting tutorials along the way, which are now on YouTube. So if you're starting to collect Thousand Sons, do make use of the painting tutorials. They're here on YouTube for you to use, and I'll show you every step of the way how to paint up various units for the Thousand Sons. They are tricky, and as you can see from the models, they are very intricate, lots of gold and shading to do, lots of areas to pick out. There's some techniques that you can use. I'll try and show you as effectively as possible how to paint them up. Yeah, see the Exalted Sorceress, for example, very complex paint jobs, but there are some ways that can help speed things up, so I'll show you that in the painting tutorials. There's 3 Molofines first of all, Rubik Marines and Zangors, so they're all covered in those tutorials, so bear that in mind as you build your own Thousand Sons collection. So that's the modelling side of things, but then what about the units? Which units perform best in games? I really am going to focus on Thousand Sons specific units. Inside the codex so there'll be sort of regular Chaos Space Marine units, but it's mostly going to be, I'm going to try my best to try and stick with unique sculpts for the Thousand Sons. So you'll see that mostly, well, there is one regular Chaos Space Marine unit here in my top 5 list. So it'll be the same format as usual. I'll run from number 5 all the way up to number 1, so the strongest choice will be the last one that we cover here at the number 1 spot. If you agree with my list or you want to change it, then leave that in the comments section. It'd be great to see your own comments and feedback on my choices. And then if you're an experienced Thousand Sons player and you've got experience using the new codex, then leave that in the comments section, and others can see the hints and tips that you leave. And then if you are getting into collecting Thousand Sons, then check out what I say here, but also have a look in the comments section, see what other experienced Thousand Sons players are saying. So I guess really the way to play will reflect my unit choices. So Thousand Sons, I reckon I'll be sticking with the same way that I used them in the previous codex, and that is strong psychic presence on the board, and then screening units to protect those psychers at all costs, keep them alive through to the end of the game, because that's where the power is, where the psychers are, and sort of very unique with the Thousand Sons, just really going for it with the psychers. And I think that fits in with the theme of the book, trying to make the most out of their strengths. And there are also some disruptive units that can disrupt the opponent to try and slow down and hamper their attempts at trying to get to those key psychers. So with that in mind, you'll see that reflected in the units that I have chosen. So number 5 is a unit I already have. Yeah, it's Molofine. I probably would have put it higher in previous videos for top 5, but it's down at number 5 here. So I have 3 of them, quite iconically on the list here. There's one painted up, and if you like the way this one looks, then there is the tutorial for it available on the channel, so do check that out. And also there's the codex review as well for all of the units and all the powers and so on in the book, is all covered in that video. So Molofines, I think they have improved, and that's why they continue to be in my top 5. This is a unit that I'd use as a distracting unit, so you'd send it out to cause trouble. The opponent can't ignore them. If they ignore them and these things get to run rampage, then there's big trouble. And if they divert energy to try and bring them down, which they sort of have to, then it stops the opponent from going after my other units. That's the idea with these. So the Molofines, you're looking at 140 points now, I believe. They've gone up a bit in points cost, a little bit, but not too bad. A pretty good price really for what you get. Molofine, 140 points. If you go for Lash of Tendrils, it's 150, so it's 10 points extra for that. The standard loadout is the Magma Cutters. I'm tempted to maybe go back to using those. So Magma Cutter, range 6 is short range, assault 2, and that's for both units. Magma Cutters, and you just get the 2 shots. Strength 8 -4, and it's d6 plus 2 damage. So a number of reasons why that's pretty good. First is the damage on it, if you can get those hits going through. Then the other thing is, if you find yourself rolling onto another turn in close combat, so you've been charged, you survive, and your opponent's still fighting away, and it comes around to your turn, you get to shoot these whilst you're in close combat, which is quite cool. There's a vehicle firing out, and d6 plus 2 damage could cause a fair bit of trouble for any target, especially characters and vehicles and so on. So Magma Cutters, maybe. Or you can pay the 10 points for Lash of Tendrils. They have got worse, sadly. Strength of user, AP -2 and 1 damage. I think it used to be 2, which is annoying. But you still get your 6 extra attacks of those, so it could be useful if you're ploughing into hordes, just to get some extra attacks come through. So not sure what to do, but either option's quite good. You pay the extra if you take the Lash of Tendrils. So your basic stat line, it's changed a little bit, perhaps improved. Movement 10 still with these, as the damage comes in, drops down to 8 inches and then 6 inches. Still not too bad on movement once the damage comes in. I believe I'll sort of talk about stratagems and stuff that help out as we go along. There is a stratagem, I believe, that helps you fight at top bracket. You pay the points, so whatever damage comes through, if you find yourself in a situation where you really need to be fighting at maximum effect, play the stratagem, pay the command points, and then you can fight on your top bracket, which is very useful. What's changed here? Weapon skill of 3+ to start with. It's always locked in at 4s, so starting at 3s is excellent, much more reliable for hitting. Weapon skill 3+, then it drops to 4, then 5. Ballistic skill, which is relevant if you're going to take the Magma Cutters, starts at 3+, then 4+, then 5+. Strength 7, toughness 7, 12 wounds, 6 attacks. As base, it used to be 4, so base number of attacks has gone up. And those attacks that come through, and this is where it's really improved, they're going to be the Molofine fist attacks just here. Now this thing is ×2 strength, so strength 14, AP -3, and this is the real improvement, D3 plus 3 damage. You know, you got 6 of those attacks come through. This thing could, if it gets its hits in, could cause real trouble. Real trouble here. D3 plus 3 is nasty stuff. So that's excellent leadership 8 and a 3+ save. So what you're getting is a machine that can cause real trouble in close combat, and it's quick enough around the table. You still keep the 5+ invuln save, and then they've kept the infernal regeneration, so you're auto regaining a wound per turn, which is great, and then siege crawler as well. For charge rolls, you ignore any or all modifiers that to that charge roll, which is useful if it's helping you be aggressive and to make your charges more reliable. So Molofines, I've put in at number 5. Just behind that was Rubik Marines. They're very good as well. I just like the Molofines. I do plan to continue running them. Maybe not 3, or maybe 3. I'll see what happens. But I just find that one of them just gets picked off. The opponent says, "Oh, there's the close combat unit," and they just blow it away. 2 of them is okay. The opponent blows one of them away, and all of a sudden you just got 1 left. But 3 is a nightmare, and so that's why I've ran 3 for quite a while, and they've proved in most games to be very, very useful indeed. In a couple of battles, the opponent's got tons of firepower. They've been picked off quite quickly, but usually they're a real menace and difficult for the opponent to remove all 3 from the table. And the effort that's required just to get through 3 of them can eat up the opponent's time and energy, whilst your psychers are out kicking out all these psychic powers. The other thing, I guess, for 9th edition now is that everything's so much closer. You know, you're pushing into the opponent's having to push in towards you to gain objectives, to control ground, and so on. Then that sort of close range melee type support is very much needed here. So Molofines help perform that task very well indeed. And then if they do die, if they are destroyed, it's 150 points. It's not that big an investment. So it's a Molofine, I think, for me. At number 5. So that's pretty much it for the Molofine. Number 4 is these guys here. So that's standard Chaos Space Marines. You know, you can get them painted up for Black Legion and so on. But I've done mine for Thousand Suns. That's sort of a standard choice that you can get from other Chaos Legions. But here's one that's unique to the Thousand Suns. It's the Exalted Sorcerers. Now you get a plastic kit from Games Workshop. I think it's 3 in a box. There's all sorts of different poses which you can go for. It's a fantastic detailed kit. It really is good. Very much enjoy putting together and painting these up. So if you're going to get Thousand Suns, heartily recommend that box set. They're beautiful models. Even if you just buy the set of 3 and just paint up one and then just gradually introduce others as time goes on. I painted up all 3 of mine. I've been using them quite regularly in my army. Now, yes, there's Sorcerers available, Sorcerers and Terminator armour, but the superior model is the Exalted Sorcerers. And maybe you could still buy Exalted Sorcerers and you could just run them as regular Sorcerers. You know, it doesn't really matter. They're Thousand Suns themed, so I can't see it being a problem. Exalted Sorcerers then, they have, I think they're cheaper in points, the ones on foot, and just as potent as they've ever been. So I've put them in the top 5 here. So Exalted Sorcerer, yeah, flat 100 points. In that you get your stave. So it's a flat 100. It's excellent. And what you get from that, they're not named, so there's all sorts of things you can start stacking on top to help them be better. Disc of Zinch, if you go for the, like I have Disco Inferno, the one on the disc that can move around a lot quicker, it's 25 points to pay for that. Plasma Pistols, 5 points. The Prosprang Kopesh, that's the Terminator Power Saw, which is really good. It's 5 points. The Warp Flame Pistol, 5 points. Don't usually bother with the pistols. You just take the standard Inferno Bolt Pistol, free of charge. So yeah, you get the stave as well. So run through the stats here. The primary reason for taking these is the psychic powers. And these, as I talked about that whole army strategy earlier on, the idea is that you're burying these character psychers behind your lines, and then they're dishing out all of these psychic powers each turn, protected by these screens, and just kicking out mortal wounds, which is very hard to try and stand against. So movement 6, movement 12 if you go with the disc, weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+. So if these do find themselves in a fight, and often they're quite good when they gang up, you get multiple Exalted Sorcerers going in, you can surprise the opponent with the number of attacks coming through. Weapon skill 2+, ballistic skill 2+, strength 4, toughness 4, 5 wounds, 5 attacks as base, which is really good. Leadership 9, 3-up save. Now in close combat, you've got the stave, which is +3 strength, strength 7, -1, and D3 damage. Yeah, but I only send them in when I'm pretty sure that if they do go into close combat, they'll survive. Because once they're gone, and you lose all the psychic powers, and it's just not worth the risk. So, and I've often said in games, if you see the sorcerers being brought down, Thousand Suns are in trouble. But if you see these surviving through to turn 3, 4, and 5, then the opponent's in trouble. They are quite powerful on the board. So, yeah, they have improved here. Sigil of Corruption, they've gone up from a 5-up save, invuln save, to a 4+. So that is excellent. Yep, they still keep their core units within 6 inches, just rerolling their ones. Yep, and attack as well, shooting or close combat. So they're handy for hanging around with like Terminators, I believe. They must be core. I'll have a little look. And then you have things like Rubik Marines, which is definitely core. Then they'll get to reroll their ones. They must be core. Yeah, they are. So they can help Terminators reroll in ones as well. So they'll benefit the bodyguard units as well. And then also they have a number of psychic powers that could be cast onto other friendly units to help them out also. So the Great Standard Psyker here can attempt to manifest 2 psychic powers and deny one. And they know powers from, they know Smite, and then psychic powers from Discipline of Change and or the Discipline of Vengeance. So I believe they can mix and match from either of those disciplines. There's loads of psychic powers to choose from. So a vast array of psychic powers. They can kick out 2 every time. And if you start, I run 3 of these in my previous list, so that's 6 psychic powers being kicked out from them potentially each turn. And the idea is you bury them away, and then the opponent just can't get to them through these screens. And my screen usually is like heavy infantry like Terminators, Rubik Marines, and then another screen beyond that, things like Chaos Cultists and Zangors. The opponent's got these real layers to try and get through before they can reach the Exalted Sorcerers. And as I said, list gets in trouble when the opponent's able to sneak in and get to the Exalted Sorcerers. So that's the stat line, and then really it's the psychic powers is the main feature for this. Things like Warlord Traits and relics are usually saved for other models, like a custom Demon Prince, for example. There's psychic powers that can help you out, like here, Malefic Scroll. When you manifest Smite, it's guaranteed 3 mortal wounds instead of D3 or D6, so things to make them more reliable. There's ones where if you perils, here, just to really, you get a lot of help in this book to make your psychic powers nice and reliable. So it's a good place for taking psychers for sure. Ignoring perils, lost on a CP, brilliant. Can really help keep lower wound models alive. So that's really good to have as well. The ability to cast an extra psychic power in the turn if you need to. Great sorcerer as well. Excellent. So all those things are good. By all means, leave your best combo in the comment section. It'd be great to hear what best Exalted Sorcerer combination you have. So lots of powers to choose from here. 18 odd powers to pick from. So you can go for all sorts of different combinations. You can go for damage output, which is always quite potent. You can go for blessing friendly units to help them out. Usually the Exalted Sorcerer I go for a mix of both. So if I need them to kick out damage, then I'll combine a damage causing psychic power and then roll up for Smite as well, so you're kicking out 2 nasty powers, but then you've also got some kind of power that can help out other units as well. And if you're spreading that over multiple units, then you're spreading the powers around so the opponent can't pick out one particular sorcerer and then wipe out all of your blessings. For example, you've spread them out over multiple psychers. So once I've caused the damage, I could go for all of these, but the kind of damage that you can do, Smite's great. Remember, you're on +1 to your psychic tests. That's going to help out with Smite, help you get to Super Smite as well. Zinch's Firestorm, I'm thinking is a pretty good one. It's very easy to make it go off. Warp charge value of 6, and +1, it's highly likely it's going to go off. And that's the other thing now for Thousand Sun psychic powers, is they've lowered all of the warp charge values for them. A lot of them. 7s and 8s were very common, but now 6s is very common. This one here needs a 6 here, a 6 here, a 5 for this one. And then on top of that, you've got your +1 to your psychic test as well. So it's very reliable psychic powers coming out. So don't be afraid to go all out for psychic powers for Thousand Suns. This is the faction or the Legion to do it for sure. Zinch's Firestorm, for example, is improved. Its warp charge value of 6, very likely it's going to go off. You select one and immune of an 18, invisible to the Psyker, roll 9d6, each 6 is a mortal wound. If the unmodified roll is a 9 or more, then it's 5 pluses to cause those mortal wounds, which is a big improvement. So that one's good. Doombolt is a good one as well. Used to be an 8 to go off, now it's a 6 with the +1, it's going to be a 5. Closest to an immune of an 18, 3 mortal wounds. So you can see that you really can start stacking up the mortal wounds with these. Now, I guess the other thing is to go for a spread of psychic powers, so loads of variety for your psychic powers, so you can just keep manifesting one different psychic power after the next. Would be another good option to go for as well. So, more examples. Temporal manipulation, a little bit restrictive now. You can't heal vehicles. It looks like you can heal monsters, so you can help out a demon prince, for example. 12 inches is a psyker. You can heal it. D3 lost wounds could be returned. You need 4 to make that go off. Weaver of Fates. You can grant a 1000 Suns unit within 18 inches of the psyker a 4+ invod save. I mean, that's huge, brilliant stuff to help out with that one. So this is all good here. I mean, I don't think I need to run through all of these psychic powers, but yeah, another helping power. Temporal Surge, warp charge value of 7 or a 6 with a +1. If manifested, select 1000 Suns infantry, cavalry, or beasts unit. It can make a normal move. So yes, it has been trimmed down now. You can't send out monsters or vehicles with the extra moves. So it means I can't double move my Molofines. Warp time was the name of the psychic power previously, but you can help out infantry. You give some Terminators a shunt, an extra move in the right direction could really help them out. So it still has its use. So depending on your battle plan as well, that's the other great thing about these Exalted Sorcerers. You can build your sorcerers based on your overall battle plan, what you want your army to do, what help you want your units to have as well. So yeah, if you're up against a weak target, Dark Blessing, warp charge value of 6, or D6. If the result is greater than the target's toughness, then it's D3 plus 3 mortal wounds. There's all sorts of ways of kicking out mortal wounds, and mortal wounds are still very, very powerful in 9th edition. You know, they can bypass toughness, doesn't matter how tough the opponent is. Armor saves, invuln saves can all be bypassed in mortal wounds. So that is I think it's the golden Zinchi key for 1000 Suns to help them play at their strengths. So that's what I'm intended to do, is build a nasty list with psychic powers at the core of their force. Now, it makes your army unique. You know, it's a real challenge to the opponent. It's very fluffy, very strongly themed. I mean, why would you collect 1000 Suns and just try and do like a regular Chaos style army of loads of Predators and regular Marines? You've got to go for the theme, and I think that's how you get the most enjoyment out of collecting the factions. So that's what you should see. Any list that I come up with, you'll see like a heavy psychic presence here, and not apologise for it. That's their that's their strength, and so we want to play into that as much as possible. And so Exalted Sorceress can be a massive help. They're cheap, and yeah, there are characters like Magnus the Red. Yeah, he's big and tough, and it's loads of powers and so on, but you can't screen him behind units, and the opponent can just start firing at those kind of targets straight away. Whereas these, they're smaller, but they can be hidden away and can just keep kicking out those psychic powers turn after turn. So something to bear in mind. Just sometimes these smaller units, you know, a cluster of 3 of those would be a real menace for the opponent to try and root out and deal with. So that's number 4. So we've looked at 2 so far. Molofines, complete contrast to each other here. Molofines to get stuck in there and cause disruption, and then Exalted Sorcerers as your psychic base. Cheap sorcerers that you can stack up a nice lot of psychic powers. You can hide them away behind the screens, and then just turn after turn, just kicking out those psychic powers. And they certainly can be a real menace. They're a menace in my previous lists that I've run, and hope to feature them again with this new 9th edition codex. Okay, so moving on to my 3rd choice, and again a bit of a shift here. We're getting a nice spread of different types of units. So Molofines for your sort of kamikaze type support. I don't mourn their loss too much. I know they've been sent out to die, and that's their job, is to tie up the opponent and to force the opponent to put energy in to bring them down. But I do mourn the loss of these. When these are brought down in an untimely way, then there is trouble. So next is a different type of unit here. These have massively improved. They really have, which is great because it's a unique unit for 1,000 Suns. It is Scarab Occult Terminators. I'm sure a lot of people will agree on this one because these have really improved. They're excellent. So I have a unit of 10. I'm not sure what direction to take them now. Whether to continue with 2 separate units, there's a reason behind that. But that's an example there of unit 5. They're beautiful models, so you've got unique Terminators, unique sculpts for the 1,000 Suns. I'd heartily recommend you get them. I really am loathed to paint. See if I can give you an example from the, just to show you what I mean. And it's the same for Space Marines as well. Let's have a look. Yeah. So this picture here, for example, brilliant. You've got unique 1,000 Suns stuff. Just the theme's fantastic. You've got to sort of get your mind out of regular Chaos Space Marine mode and treat 1,000 Suns differently, I believe, just to get the best theme. See, all this stuff here, fantastic. Not so keen on turquoise rhinos, turquoise predators. Just, yeah, you could just do regular Chaos stuff for that. These are the main focus here. Fantastic sculpts. So I encourage you to go for that kind of thing. And Rubik Marines, beautiful models. But stuff like this, I couldn't even, just couldn't do it. So I'd encourage you to go for the unique 1,000 Suns stuff if you can. But Terminators here, now they're still expensive enough, and they're not cheap, but they are pretty good. So I think they're 20 points each, could be wrong. No, they're 40 points each. So they're 40 points a time. They are expensive enough for sure. As I'm thinking 20 points. It's 200 points for 5. Yeah, is what I was thinking of. So they are expensive. So they're not really throwaway type units. They are units that you would like to try and keep alive. There's a few little tricks that can help preserve them to a degree. One thing we've thought about already is blessing psychic powers that can be added on, like that 4+ invuln save being granted to them. It's pretty good. But they have improved for what you get. They're movement 5 now. I believe they used to be movement 4, so a little bit quicker than what they were before. Weapon skill and ballistic skill 3+, strength 4 and toughness 4. And then now this is the great thing, they're up to 3 wounds, which is where they should have been with the increased wounds across the board for Space Marines. So 3 wounds each, that's excellent. Against damage 2 weapons aren't such a bane against them now. You've got that 3rd wound, and that can really help out with their durability. Because a lot of damage 2 type stuff out there now, and it's going to take double the effort to bring them down, as opposed to when they were on just 2 wounds each. 3 attacks base each as well, which is excellent. And they're 2 up save. And leadership 8, leadership 9 on the Scarab Occult Sorcerer. Now, so there's a few things here. I'll come back to weapons in a moment. So you've got all this dust. Each time an attack with damage characteristic of 1 is allocated to a model in this unit, add 1 to any armor saving throw against the attack. In addition, models in this unit do not suffer the penalty to the hit rolls, firing heavy weapons in the turn in which they move. So all that damage 1, AP -1, -2, weaponry coming through, you're getting a bit of a kickback with that boosting the armor save up by 1. So that's good if you can, as much as possible, stay on that 2-up armor save, and that's excellent. So that's good news that they have that. They have the new, it's the malicious volleys here. So Terminator models firing their rapid fire weapons, for example, just get the full rate, which you'll see in just a moment is excellent. 5-up invuln save for them. And the other big thing is morale's auto passed as well. I missed that in the early battle reports, so I've got to remember that one, but there's no need to worry about morale for them, which is excellent. Because it is infuriating when you've got one model left and then you bust morale and you have to remove the model from play. So that's all excellent. There's a great stuff going on here. You've got teleport strikes, they're a great reserve unit that you can bring in, fire deep strike as well. And yes, they've improved the sorcerer as well. So instead of being an aspiring sorcerer with like a mini smite, it's just a regular occult sorcerer now. So you can manifest 1 pound, deny 1, but he knows regular smite, so you kick out normal smite from these as well, and that's why I'm thinking maybe I was tempted to go for a larger unit of perhaps 10 of them, but for paying the points I can go for my 2 units of 5. I keep my flexibility with them if I need to split them up during the game, and then I get the double sorcerers out of it as well, so I get 1 and then I get a second sorcerer, so extra smite, extra psychic power availability. Yeah, I think that might be the way to do it, but it's all down to experimentation. Now, the weaponry is, I'm toying whether to pay the points for these extra weapons or not, because they're expensive enough. Yeah, so I'm not so sure what to do with the loadouts here. It'd be interesting to see what others have to say in the comments section, whether it's worth paying out the points anymore for the extra weapons. So you can take a heavy warp flamer, 5 points. The Hellfire missile rack, 10 points. That's quite steep. And then the Soul Reaper cannon is 5 points. With the Soul Reaper cannon, you'll end up replacing the Inferno Combi Bolter, which is a bit annoying. So the heavy warp flamer, range 12, heavy D6, strength 5, -2 on damage, and it's auto hits on the target, but you're not so sure about that one. The Hellfire missile rack, range 36. I think they've improved the range. Heavy 2, strength 8, -2, but it's just D3 damage. So yeah, maybe. So not sure about that one. And then the Inferno Combi Bolter is pretty good. Range 24, rapid fire 2. For Terminators, it's going to be rapid fire. It's going to be 4 shots each. So unit 5's going to be kicking out 20 shots a time, which is not too bad. And then the great thing about it is AP -2, which is nice. Damage 1. The Soul Reaper cannon's improved. It's now heavy 5, strength 6, and -3. 1 damage, pretty good weapon. And then the stave as normal. Now the other great thing about these, so as I usually bring them in by a deep strike and use them as Dacker to clear away screens and to put some wounds on targets, which they can kick out a nice lot of shots. But these are pretty good in close combat now. The stave's okay, but the Prospering Kapesh is now +1 strength, so strength 5, which is excellent. AP -3 and 2 damage on these things, so they are in close combat. They'll be a real bane. Things like Primark are going to cause big trouble, big trouble. So all of this is good for the Terminators. A very solid unit choice here. Decent firepower, tactically some good options. You've got the option Deep Strike with them. You've got nice durability here. They've upped the wounds on them. So there's 15 wounds to try and get through on those. You've got the 5+ invuln saves, possibility of with psychic power giving them a 4+ invuln save. And then the other psychic power that we saw, the ability to restore wounds, just try and help out with their durability. There's a couple other little bits. I'll try and share as many tips as I can. Yeah, so there's a stratagem here. This one's worth keeping in your back pocket at all times. Warped Regenerations, only 1 CP. Use this stratagem in your psychic phase after manifesting a psychic power with 1,000 Suns unit from your army with an unmodified psychic test of 9 or more. So keep that in mind. If that unit contains a model that has lost any wounds, that model is healed and regains up to D3 lost wounds. Otherwise, if any models in that unit have been destroyed, you can return one of those models to the battlefield with all of its wounds remaining. So particularly helpful for a unit of Terminators. If you've taken wounds, you'll restore D3, so that could help out one of these models. Or if you've taken casualties, then you can put a model back just for 1 CP. That's 40 points. So well worth it. That Warped Regeneration is an excellent one. And then the other thing that I do is here, the choice of cult. There's all sorts of different ones to go for. I run Cult of Time. Because I'm running Terminators, this Time Flux Blessing is particularly good. It's a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select one Cult of Time infantry unit within 6 inches of the psycho. I believe it can put it onto its own unit. You can return one destroyed model from that unit to the battlefield with all of its wounds remaining. So it's a fantastic power. Warp charge value of 6. 1+1, so it's going to be a 5. It's very likely for it to go off. So you've got a Terminator unit that's taking a battering. then manifest this power and return the model back to play. It's high value because it's 40 points per model being returned to play. So durability is a great thing to have on the battlefield. So there's a chance where unit takes a hit, perhaps quite early in the game, pull them out of trouble a little bit, start building their strength back up, and then towards the end of the game you've got a unit that's near back to its full strength. So those little things to help out the Terminators. There's also blessings to give you things like +1 to your hit rolls. Also help out. Keep a Sorcerer nearby for rerolling hit rolls of 1. Is a great help as well. So that's pretty much all I can think of there for the Terminators. But what you've got there is a solid unit, tactically flexible, decent DACA available from it. You can stack on more upgrades to let loose of firepower as well, and then the ability to fight well enough in close combat. Yeah, they certainly can. So a lot of good things going for them. But there is that element of durability. I'd try and be sensible with the way they're used. You couldn't throw them right out in the centre of the table. Just expect them to survive everything. The opponent's going to try and bring them down. So sensible play with them at the same time. There's a unit that's worth trying to keep alive. So that's them. That's 3 we've looked at. Molofines, Kamikaze Close Combat, Exalted Sorceress for psychic power support, and then Terminators, a tactically flexible unit that's nice and durable now, decent firepower available from them, and they can stand up for themselves well enough in close combat as well. So number 2 is Ahriman here on the Disc of Zinch. So just get a points value for him. I still very much rate him. It's quite simple reasons really, but boys, 160 points and plus 20 points if you're going to take him on the disc. Now it's 180 points. That is it's expensive for just the one model. He's painted up here. It's a fantastic sculpt from Games Workshop. Beautiful, beautiful job they've done on him. Now, one thing I would say, for 180 points, if you're going to take him on the disc, you have to keep him alive. Don't throw him away. Okay, now I'm such a hypocrite because I'm the one that gets him in trouble sometimes. But you've got to just try and err on the side of caution if you are going to run him. Keep him buried away as much as possible. Don't let him get caught out. Keep him alive. Don't let him get involved in fights that's too risky. He is a psyker master. Keep him that way, buried away behind units, and just kicking out those psychic powers turn after turn. That's the way to do it with him. And the value will be seen as he survives. If he's lost on turn 1, turn 2, it's a dreadful points loss. But if he starts surviving through mid-game and beyond, he can just start moving around and kicking out psychic damage all over the place and really get his points back. But to get his value, he's got to survive those turns. So for that you get movement 6, movement 12 if you take disc, which helps to help him to relocate to kick these powers out. So a lot of the powers are shorter in range now. You're not getting your extra 6-inch bonus for psychic powers without a little bit of carbal help. Carbal points can help extend one psychic power, but that's about it. It used to be army wide, so you are fighting at closer range now with these psychic powers. So a bit of extra movement to help him manoeuvre into position to use those may will prove useful. So I'm going to run him on the disc for the sake of 20 points. Movement 6 or 12. Weapon skill, ballistic skill 2 plus strength 4, toughness 4. He's got 6 wounds now. I think he was on 5. 5 attack space, leadership 9, and a 3 plus save. He does have the black staff of Ahriman, which is plus 3 strength, minus 1, and 3 damage. But again, don't be too tempted to get sucked into a close combat with the potency of that staff. And then, yeah, so core units get to reroll their 1s, 4 plus invulns save. Yeah, so here it is. Each time a psychic test is taken with this model, you can reroll that test. So rerolling all his psychic powers and plus 1 to the result as well, you've got yourself a very, very reliable psyker. And this is the great thing here. You can manifest 3 psychic powers in your psychic phase and deny 3 as well. So he truly is a psychic master here. But nice, simple, straightforward rules. So you can pick out your favourite psychic powers, powers that you want to last through to the end of the game, stack them up on him, and you've got the potential of 4 psychic powers being kicked out by him per turn. 3 that he's allowed to do. You can put a stratagem on there to manifest an extra psychic power as well. Sometimes I run him as a mortal wound machine, so you'll take smite and then 3 powers that will kick out mortal wounds, and just kick those out turn after turn, and just wither targets that are nearby. And that's any target: monsters, vehicles, hordes, heavy infantry, any target you want. That's the danger that comes from mortal wounds. So a simple choice really for Ahriman, but a character that if you can keep him buried in a game, and games where the Thousand Sons have done well, and really done well, is where he's survived through to the end of the game, and he's been shielded away and just kicked out those mortal wounds and damage, and blessing other units going along as well. The other thing is you can bless your own units, you can kick out mortal wounds. The other thing is causing trouble for the opponent's units as well, so stripping away invuln saves, for example, those kind of tactical things that can help out as well. But I guess the trickiest thing of Ahriman and Exalted Sorcerers is the shielding of them, keeping them alive, protected from enemy units trying to sneak in or deep strike in behind and sneak in and so on. So that's the trickiest bit for the Psychers. But Ahriman in the list here as an exceptionally reliable and potent Psyker, and so a great summation of what the Thousand Sons are meant to be. So we've seen 4 so far: Molofines, Exalted Sorcerers, psychic power support; Terminators, much improved, nice damage they kick out now in close combat, nice durable, 3 wounds each. And then really I suppose the points is about the same as what they were, about 200 points, unit 5 is about the same. And then Ahriman here, an expensive psyker, but oh so reliable with him, if you can protect it well enough in the game. Final choice, I guess I'm putting myself in a corner here by making this choice. It is, he's around here somewhere, none can ignore him. Yeah, it's Magnus the Red. He has improved, which is good to see Games Workshop do that. And by putting him at number 1, I guess I may have to go down the route of getting a hold of this model and putting him into a future list for my Thousand Sons army. I think the time is right to get a hold of him. But Magnus the Red here, if you thought Ahriman was good at psychic powers, Magnus is a brute. So we'll run through the stats here. A couple of things then. First of all is that the downside with him is his model that's going to stand out by himself. The only thing that's really going to protect him, hide him away, is going to be obscuring terrain, which there should be a bit in each game of 40k, but he's not exactly the easiest model to hide. He's got bits sticking out everywhere. Look at him. From his big long spear glaive sword to his chicken wings poking out all over the place. So he's going to be seen. It's going to be very hard to hide him, and he's not exactly camouflaged either. So he's, and then the opponent's probably going to shoot everything he has at Magnus. So that's your downside. As we've seen earlier, there's ways to help out with that. Psychic powers to restore wounds, which will be very useful. That stratagem that if you manifest a psychic power modified 9 or more, you can restore D3 wounds. Those kind of things to really help Magnus the Red out for sure, because it is going to be shot at, so you've got to use them. Oh, it's tricky. You move him out in front of an army, that's going to be trouble. So for him, which is annoying because you want to move him out to kick out all the damage that he can do. So that's the conundrum with Magnus the Red. So I guess things like Molofines, being thrown out ahead, the opponents try and deal with. What do they go for? Do they try and take out Magnus? Do they ignore the Molofines? That could help out to some degree. So movement 16 with him, I'll just show you the points. 450 points. He's very expensive. So yeah, tricky enough. And it would be a deadly loss to lose him for sure. And those 18 wounds can soon trickle away when your firepower starts coming in. Movement 16, weapon skill and ballistic skill 2+. The movement will drop from 14 from 16 down to 14, then down to 12. So no matter what damage he's on, he's still going to move quickly around the table. Toughness 7, toughness 8 would have been great, but he's toughness 7. Strength 8 though. 18 wounds, 8 attacks, then 7, then 6, which is still really good. It's going to keep that weapon skill though, which is great. 2+. Leadership 10, 3 up save. You can fight well enough in close combat, times 2 strength, so that's strength 16, -4 and 3 damage. Each time the bearer has fought, select one enemy model that lost any wounds, but was not destroyed. It takes, that model's unit takes a D3 mortal wounds. So that's the stat line. He's okay, he's not too bad in close combat. Pretty good, but not the most devastating. Stat line's okay, he's quick enough, which is good. And then what we're expecting for 1000 Suns is to see some devastating sorcery here, and we've suggested some ways of trying to keep him alive, make use of obscuring terrain, and then psychic powers and stratagems to help boost his wounds back up, because he's going to be shot at for sure. I guess the ideal situation with him is just to keep manifesting those psychic powers turn after turn, because that's where he is king. We'll come down here first of all. We can manifest 3 psychic powers and deny 3. So it's on the same kind of level as Araman. No smite, and then 3 powers from Discipline of Change and or Discipline of Vengeance. Then now we start stacking up a load of good stuff here. So Demon Primark. If your army's battle forged, this model must be your army's warlord. If more than one model in your army has a rule to this effect, then one of those models must be your army's warlord. And then Primark of the 1000 Suns Aura. While a friendly 1000 Suns core unit is within 6 inches of this model, each time model that unit makes an attack, you can reroll hit rolls of 1. Then next is all quite standard stuff, and then Lord of the Planet of Sorcerers. In your command phase, select one 1000 Suns core or character unit within 6 inches of this model. It could be himself, perhaps. I think you can, because its characters can do it as well. Until the start of your next command phase, each time model that unit makes an attack, you can reroll the hit rolls. You're granted hit rolls. It's like a Chapter Master. Then Crown of the Crimson King. He has got a 4+ influence save, thankfully. In addition, this model never suffers perils of the warp, just ignores it. Then Gaze of Magnus. Each time this model manifests the Smite psychic power, inflict D6 mortal wounds instead of D3, or 3D3 mortal wounds instead of D6. If the result of the psychic test was 11 or more. 3d3, nasty stuff, between 3 and 9 damage for smite. And then Unearthly Power. You can reroll a psychic test taken for this model, similar to Araman. Each time a psychic test or neither which test is taken for this model, add 1 to the result. If the model has 10 or more wounds remaining, add 2 to the result instead. So you got Super Smite, can be a big thing for him, for sure. So the major emphasis is obviously the psychic powers. That can be where he's the most dangerous. So you can pick 3. I wouldn't really worry about silly little blessing type things. I would go for mortal wound production with him and just kick out tons of damage in the psychic phase. Scary stuff. That's the route that I would probably go for him. And there's something else I need to cover here. Yeah, so it's Warlord Traits, which is pretty good. So yeah, if Magnus the Red gains a Warlord trait, instead gains 3, which must be Arrogance of Aeons, Undying Form, and the Lord of Forbidden Law traits. There's 3 Warlord traits to stack on top of him as well. So we'll see if these are any good. So Arrogance of Aeons first of all. You can reroll Deny the Witch test taken for this Warlord, so it's great because he can deny loads each turn. If your army has a Cabal of Sorcerers, this Warlord can benefit from additional Cabalistic ritual in each of his psychic phases. And then next, Undying Form. Each time an attack is allocated to this Warlord, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of that attack. So that's a massive help. That's really going to help out. That's excellent. So damage 2 and so on, just dropping down to damage 1 for example. That can make a huge difference. Undying Form is very helpful for Magnus because he's going to be a bullet magnet. And then finally, Lord of Forbidden Law. Your Warlord knows 1 additional psychic power. If your Warlord is Magnus the Red, it knows all the psychic powers from the disciplines it has access to. So he has access to 18 odd psychic powers. He just can pick any ones that he wants. And he can manifest an extra one. So he's kicking out 5 psychic powers with the stratagem as well. Oh, wow. So I don't think there's many psychers quite like him. Perhaps he is the most potent of them all, but he can pick any of these you want. So if you are going to run a Magnus the Red, you need to know these psychic powers really well and have good practice with them. But he can pretty much pick any power he wants during the game. So brilliant stuff. So that's Magnus the Red. I've put him in at number 1. I think I should get a hold of the model. If I'm talking about having units that are unique to the Thousand Sons, then the ultimate manifestation of that would be Magnus the Red. On his own, he's a bit odd, but when he mixes with the Thousand Sons, I think he looks quite at home amongst them. So Magnus the Red may well be a model that you can look out for in the future. I think it would fit. Brand new codex, chance to revamp the army. I'll maybe try and run 2,000 points and then do an option of dropping 450 points, then bring Magnus in as like a swap out and play it that way. But I put him in as my number 1 choice. A lot of Thousand Sons players saying that he's improved, and here he is, quite potent now, so he's made it to the number 1 spot. So that's the top 5 units then in this video. I hope this has been a help to you as you try and pick which units to go for. So Molofines, their disruptive ability and their danger in close combat, they create a conundrum for the opponent. Do they destroy them and try and take them out? And if they do, then it saps time and energy away from taking on other targets, or does the opponent ignore them, and in which case they're free to go on the rampage and cause trouble. So Molofine's a great distracting unit and real damage in close combat potentially with them. Exalted Sorcerers, nice reliable psychers that can kick out 2 psychic powers each turn, bury them away behind your lines and just keep manifesting those powers turn after turn. Then you've got your Terminators, great supporting unit, you can deep strike them in, plenty of DACA available from those, and in close combat they are much more potent than what they used to be, and more durable now as well with their 3 wounds, so big fan of the Terminators. Ahriman as a cheaper than sort of Magnus cheaper option here. 3 psychic powers, deny 3, keep them hidden, and just kick out those powers turn after turn with +1 to the psychic tests, re-rolling all of your psychic tests. Ahriman's very reliable indeed. But at number 1 spot, for the sheer danger that he can be on the battlefield, and that's Magnus the Red. He's expensive, he's a bullet magnet, but there's a few things to help out to keep him on the table a bit longer, and just the sheer number of psychic powers and damage that he can do is terrifying, so I put him in at number 1. That's my list. You're free to change the order of what I've chosen there, or completely change the options entirely. Which do you agree with, disagree with? Leave it in the comment section. Leave your best combinations for characters like Warlord Traits, relics and so on, psychic power options and choices. Be fascinating to hear that in the comment section as well, and even unit loadouts as well. What size Terminator units do you run, what combinations do you go for, and so on with those. So that's the top 5 units here for the Thousand Sons. Keep a lookout for more on this series. There's a number of videos already with the new codexes for 9th edition, where I choose the top 5, so be sure to check those out. And for help with the Thousand Sons, 3 painting tutorials for you. Make use of them as you paint your own army up. Thanks for watching, and tune in next time.